Welcome to the Success Pick and Mix podcast. I'm your host, Nicky Raby, a professional pick and mixer. I'm a personal brand coach, a speaker, an actor, a creator, and a podcaster. I'm on a mission to help you find and create your version of success. Your pick and mix of life and business on your terms. A blend that complements your personality, your goals, and your circumstances. Since 2018, I've been sharing interviews and mini episodes to help you unlock your next step, to make it real and make it happen. Round here, we dream big. We go for the ideal version. We talk about money and make moves our future selves would be proud of. This podcast is free and available for you whenever you need it. So do rate, review, and subscribe for new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices and availability, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests. Now, on to today's episode. In today's episode, I'm talking to Jo Wimble-Groves, who does lots of things. She's the co-owner of a multi-award-winning mobile tech company, Active Digital. She's also a freelance writer and a keynote speaker and a blogger, and writes an award-winning blog called Guilty Mother. I love this sense of being able to do lots of different things and use your talents and skills to diversify and also help the next generation coming up. So we talk about lots of things in this episode. Again, you'll probably need a pen and paper for this because there's loads of juicy content. If you're not receiving my weekly magazine straight into your inbox, why not? You can sign up for free at nickyraby.com/magazine. And also, if you want to continue the conversation with Jo and I, come over to Instagram at Nicky Raby, and any references that we mention will always be nickyraby.com/podcast, and all the back episodes. We are going for this. We are doing 1 million plays before the end of the year. So if you do enjoy this content, if you love the episodes, I love receiving all your messages. Thank you so much. Please rate, review, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I really want lots more people to find the episodes, and I know that they're being really helpful because of the guests, and well, I'd like to think because of me as well. So thank you so much for all your support as always. Here is the episode, my friends. Jo, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, let's start with you. What do you do? How would you describe your career and your current job description, I guess?
Okay, great. So yes, my name is Jo Wimble-Groves, and I am an entrepreneur. I run a mobile technology company called Active Digital, which I've run for over 20 years with my brother, which I love. So I love being a woman in tech, selling mobile phones since the 1990s. And then I do some other sideline projects as well, which I love. So I feel very passionate about supporting women in business and mothers, and just helping women in general to thrive. So I've got a series of talks and events that I do with two fabulous ladies, Catherine Spencer, who's the former England rugby captain, and Michelle Robinson, who is an Olympic athlete. And together we do stuff as a trio. We go into businesses to help women to thrive in their current roles, or perhaps and hopefully move into more senior roles. As we know, there's a real lack of senior leadership in women. So that's something I want to help with. And in addition to that, I'm a freelance writer. I love using my creative side of my brain to do a lot of writing. So I write for InStyle UK, Guardian Careers, written for Cosmopolitan, Mother and Baby, and lots of business magazines. Again, just using my voice as a platform, really. In addition to that, I have two young children who are 6 and 8, and being my own boss, I went back to work when my daughter was only 3 months old, and I felt a bit guilty about that. So I decided to start writing about mum guilt, or parenting guilt in general, along with some other topics, of course. So I write a blog called Guilty Mother, which is sort of a a sort of code name, I suppose, in the beginning. Wasn't quite sure where I was going with all of that, but I thought it was quite therapeutic to write about this mum guilt because I couldn't find any information really online about other people feeling it. So I thought, I should write about this because when I Google mum guilt, nothing comes up. So
and everybody's just living in their Pinterest-friendly lives.
I know, exactly. So I thought I'm going to write about this subject because I couldn't find anything on it. And I must have opened up a can of worms because a lot of mums seemed to really like what I was writing. And the blog has really grown over the last, it's 2.5 years now. It's still quite a new blogger, I would say, but 47,000 people now follow that blog, and it was only ever supposed to be a sideline project. So the blog has been great, and it's opened so many opportunities, which has been wonderful. And I've met so many amazing women as well. So I love my day job, which is a tech company. I love my writing. I love going in and doing my talks with my ladies. And I also love my blog. And in addition to that, and I know we'll talk about this later, but I feel very passionately about finding our next wave of entrepreneurs, which are our younger children, and also helping our little ones with confidence and resilience. Yes. So I think sharing what I've learned is absolutely crucial. So giving back is very much part of where I am as an individual at the moment, and where I want to spend a bit more time. So I go into schools, colleges and universities to talk to children from age 7 upwards, and I do that every month.
And how did your entrepreneurial journey start? Because that is, it kind of comes up on the podcast a lot, to enter the world of digital, or to be talking about the world of digital 20 years ago. It wasn't necessarily spoken about, or it was a very sort of new industry. How did you begin that in the early days?
Yeah, good question. So I'd like to think that I've got an interesting story, which again, is, I think, why it's really important to go and share it with other people, because my journey, I didn't follow a path that maybe a lot of people do follow. So I did my GCSEs at school. My parents got divorced around a very similar time. So home life was a bit disruptive and not a very happy place at that time. Yeah. And my brother, who's 4 years older than me, said he was going to start selling mobile phones as a bit of a sideline, really, because he was playing a lot of golf. He was a very good, very talented golfer, played for England boys, in fact. Started selling mobile phones, and I was going to go to drama school. I didn't go to drama school because of the sort of things going on at home. And he said, "Look, do you want to sort of do this thing with me?" And I said yes. And maybe that was a real changing point in my life, where at nearly 17 years old, I just decided to go and do something with my brother and work with him. And we worked from a tiny little room. We didn't have any money to set up this business. And from that age on, we were technically, entrepreneurs at 17 and 21 years old. So I used to go and see my bank manager to go through my profits, my losses, my forecasts. And the bank managers just sort of laughed at me, but,
Because even if they're like, have you got any ID? No, not yet, because I'm only 17.
Well, exactly. So he'd say, okay, Joe, so you want to get an overdraft. So what security do you have? And I remember saying to him, I said, Trevor, I haven't even got a car. I don't have anything. And I got back in, I remember getting back into my brother's car when I came out of the bank. He said, how'd you get on? Did we get anything? And I said, I'm so sorry, I didn't get anything. And I remember because actually back then, I'd say 20 years ago, this entrepreneurial spirit and actually young people trying to have an idea and carve their way in the world, it wasn't really supported that much, I feel. Not like today, where you can crowdfund and you can go to Funding Circle, and you loads of opportunity where you can go and pitch an idea. But back then, it was a real struggle trying to raise money. But anyway, we muddled through, and we saw a bit of a gap in the marketplace a couple of years on from that, where we noticed that businesses were starting to give their employees mobile phones for the first time.
Yes.
So that was a real changing point for us. And we decided to not be like the high street, as in just selling a phone to anybody, like Car Phone Warehouse and Phones for You of the day. we decided to just focus on selling mobiles to business customers with an excellent customer experience. And that ended up being the core of what Active Digital was about. So we wanted to be the best in class. If you're an organisation of any size, whether it's 5 mobile phones or 2,000 mobile phones, we're the go-to. And fast forward 20 years, we manage amazing clients, some very big brand names as well. We are the top best performing O2 partner for the whole of the UK and Ireland. And we're the only partner in the UK to hold a global award for customer experience. So those ambitions from years ago, we've worked really hard to bring that to life. So we're very, very proud of, I suppose, our first baby, really.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so interesting hearing you say that, because I sort of did the opposite of, I went to drama school, but was not taught any kind of entrepreneurial spirit of like how to actually make it a career, how to personal brand yourself, because these sort of conversations didn't sort of just happen. And, you know, I was sort of sold this dream that you just go and you act and then you sit and wait for the phone to ring. And that is so not my personality. And I just wish that I'd had those tools to, I mean, we barely had the internet at that sort of stage. So I wish I'd kind of had that. And I now sort of feel a responsibility to tell young actors that please don't just sit in a window ledge, you know, drinking half a bottle of red wine and the rest. You know, you've got to actually put yourself out there. How have you built your network over the years, and how have you been brave in business? I know so many women, and it comes up so much on the podcast, really suffer with this imposter syndrome, putting yourself out there and being afraid of being told no. And so already there can become a story about, well, I won't even bother anyway, or I don't want to bother anyone. There's sort of such a politeness that we're kind of taught. How have you broken that mold for yourself?
I think we're kindred spirits, Nikki, because the drama was really important. In fact, my daughter's now doing a bit of Lambda. So I did all of the Lambda all the way through up to what was the junior medallion. I don't wear that so much these days around my neck, but yeah.
You should bring it back. It's London Fashion Week. Bring it back.
I see you. I'm wearing that medallion. So the early years of the drama is really important because it's about putting yourself out of your comfort zone, which again comes around to that conversation of, from an early age, how do you build that confidence up? I was always a confidence child, always a confident kid. Like, for example, first day of school, a lot of people have a lot of nerves, don't they, on their first day of school? I couldn't wait to go. I was so ready. And maybe that's been the highlight of me, of always wanting to be a go-getter and put yourself out there. And don't get me wrong, I've had plenty of knockbacks, especially, I say, being this young woman in tech, walking around with my briefcase, I would ring anybody. I would pick up the phone and call anybody, go through the yellow pages. And actually, a lot of people would say, no, we don't, not interested. But I would always be that, I'm always glass half full, probably spilling over really, to think that one phone call, someone will say, oh, I'm so glad you called, at this time, because we need X, Y, and Z. So I'm always that type of person. And when I go in to talk to people about the blog is a really great example of giving stuff a try, putting your hand up, putting yourself out there, and don't be afraid of it going wrong, because otherwise you could miss out on so much. So when I started the blog and I came home and told my husband I was going to start writing, and he's probably rolling his eyes at me thinking, you're doing enough as it is, but hey.
Sounds like Matt. Matt's like, what is it? Right, okay, cool. What do you need? Yeah, I'll cook dinner tonight and you can build this website. Great, sure.
Exactly. I built a website in 24 hours.
Yeah, of course you did. I know all of these feelings.
Done it, yeah. Got all of a sudden you build a brand in 24 hours while he's cooking the tea. Yeah. And I did my first blog, uploaded it, put it on the World Wide Web. I don't know what I was thinking, Nikki, but I thought, yeah, this is going to be big. And then 3 people read it. Yeah. And I felt a bit deflated. I was like, oh, that didn't quite go as I was hoping.
And I'm sitting right next to my phone and it's not ringing. That's very annoying.
Yeah, why is nothing happening yet? And then, and the 3 people that read it is probably like my mum, my nan, and my best friend. You can always rely on those guys, can't you?
Yes, exactly. And they'll always sort of add an addition of like, I'm not really sure what it is, but it was lovely. It was really good. I had a lot of conversations with my dad and he's like, I'm really proud of you, but I'm just not sure what it is. I'm like, great, no worries. We've got the first bit and that's fine. How did you kind of grow it and get more people to come and sort of be part of it? Because I feel like we're all starting our own individual movements in a way, which sounds very pretentious and ridiculous, but it's sort of, we want to build communities and get people on board. Certainly I found this with the podcast, is that and it's certainly got easier the more episodes that I've done and things, but you really want to get people on board and excited about what you're doing. What's really worked for you?
I think, building that personal brand and being authentic is obviously very important. So after I wrote the first blog, which, as I say, not many people read, I then wrote another one and I tried to make it even, more personal, more authentic, and 5 people read it. So I ran to my husband and said, I am on the cusp of greatness.
You can leave your job.
I was like, this is great, and he's sort of laughing at me saying, you've gone from 3 to 5. I said, yeah, it's quite progress. And actually, how do you then turn that 5 into 5,000? I think writing really authentically. I follow the news a little bit as well to think about that might steer my writing of what things people really want to hear, even going back to my community and finding out what things they're really talking about or what things are on their minds. And I'll try and make my writing steered toward what I think they want to hear rather than just assuming what I think they want to hear. And, it's built really great relationships with some brands. So I'm now doing a lot of work with Bowden. I've done work with Land Rover and Mercedes-Benz and some really nice high-profile brands. But I also have to be careful not to have lots of sponsored things all the time, because I worry that the community might not like that too much, because it could take my authenticness away almost. But, it's difficult, isn't it? A lot of bloggers are having this challenge at the moment because a lot of people have got mortgages to pay. So, we want to obviously use it as a business. And if we're using our entrepreneurial spirit, well, at the end of the day, whatever business we create, it needs to be profitable.
And
because
things take time, in order to create good content, it's not something that you can just wang up. It's a competitive space now. So you need to sort of
definitely
be the best that you can be.
Yeah. And I think actually what I mentioned about putting your hand up and giving something a try is really important, because when I started writing, what I loved about my writing at the beginning is that I wasn't doing it. I don't do it for money. I have a job. I wasn't actually doing it as a career. It was a sideline project, which meant I could write very, very freely and I felt no pressure. But also, on Mumsnet alone, if I think I've got this correct, but there's around 8,000 bloggers just on Mumsnet. Wow. Now, if I think about, look, that's quite an overcrowded market, as you say. But if you have a voice, and if you believe in your voice and what you want to say, and you feel that you want to reach out, there is space for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And certainly I've had to use that in my career, because from being little, growing up in the North, I had a lot of eye rolls of like, you're doing what, love? Like, it was just not, you were seen as a show off and almost, how dare she be 7 years old and have such big dreams? It was definitely that sort of culture at that time. But if I think about, well, there's 90,000 actors in the UK or whatever, you'd never do anything. So all I can do is concentrate. And actually what you realize sometimes, and I don't want to offend anybody, that sometimes people will try something and they'll only write 2 blog posts and then call themselves a blogger. And I've seen that a little bit with the podcast market, that you have to, it has to build up as a sort of bulk of work in order to really make it work for you.
Yeah, and I think whether you're 7 years old or 37 years old, when I first started writing that blog and only 3 people read it and then only 5 people read it, there's so many reasons to quit.
Yeah.
So many reasons to quit. But you've got to dig you deep and you've got to be resilient. And these are the qualities that we want to instill in our children: confidence and resilience and perseverance. You can't always expect things to just happen straight away when you want them to, especially in the digital world. You think things happen straight away. And because there's so many people doing very similar things out there, you have to find your own voice and don't be deferred on what other people, what other people are doing, because again, with the world of social media, and I actually love using social media for the power of good. That's another big conversation. But it is very easy to get sucked in to think, oh, well, she's doing that and she's doing that. But you've just got to focus on what you're doing and be on your own journey. I think that's really important.
Yeah, not everybody starting from the same point. Sometimes I guess fashion bloggers have really, you find out sort of later that they've built their profile because actually they're best mates with all the PRs because they used to have a prolific magazine career, and I think you can't be disheartened that somebody has spiraled very quickly. And, obviously we want to focus on the numbers and opportunities and things like that, but not get caught up in it, not letting it stifle you.
Definitely. And I think you recently interviewed Alison Perry.
I did, yeah.
For a lot longer than I have, and she's on an amazing journey. And actually, I love to follow people like Alison because she's very authentic and uses her voice in a great way. And we can learn a lot from people that have been blogging longer than us. Definitely.
Did you look at your career and your life differently once you had children?
Funnily enough, when you have a baby, you never quite know how you're going to feel afterwards about your work. And actually, when I had my daughter nearly 9 years ago now, it made me more determined to want to do more. And I hate the term I wanted to be successful or more successful, because success can be determined in so many different ways. What is success to one person against another? But I just felt that once I had that little girl in my arms, I thought I want to give her the opportunities, or as many opportunities as possible. And I was very fortunate that I had good opportunities when I was younger, and my dad worked really hard to give them to me. I want to give that to her. So yeah, having her actually made me feel quite driven that I do appreciate my business, and I do want to find that work-life balance. It is still a struggle, I'll be really honest with you, and especially now that I'm trying to juggle different projects. But it's also okay to say no to things, isn't it? I can't always be at a certain place at a certain time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel, I really hope both my children will grow up with a strong work ethic, because they see what myself and my husband are doing, and hopefully why we're trying to do it as well, just to give them those opportunities for the future. But equally, work is very much part of me, just because it has been for such a long time.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I think work ethic spills into all elements of your personality. When you flat share with people, those people that never buy tea bags, but yet they're always drinking your tea, or they don't have that sense of playing as a team, or, you're struggling with something and somebody will just watch you pull down a tent. It's those sort of, you want to produce children that are going to, contribute something to the world and not be a complete gormless Wally who just sort of, wants to grab it and take it and all of that sort of stuff. How have you built your network, and what's really worked for you in terms of putting yourself out there and pitching, and what do you have a formula that sort of works in order to build connections or create opportunities? How does that look? What does that look like?
I think you need to be confident enough to go to events. And I know some people really struggle with going to networking events where they don't know anyone. But I go to, there's some networking events that fall a bit flat. But I think pick and choose the events that you want to go to. And if possible, have a look at, the profile of that event and who you think is going to be there. And when you get there, don't be afraid to go up and just make conversation with somebody.
Yes.
Because you never know where that conversation is going to go. And I think you've got to definitely just not be afraid of going up and making a conversation with somebody and having those open conversations and asking what they do, or how come they came to the event? Do they know anybody here? And just have a really open conversation with lots of different people. And then once you've had that conversation, potentially connect with them on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a great way to connect with lots of like-minded people. And just drop them a little personalised note saying it was great to chat to you at this event. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up at some stage again. And if you're then connections, it can lead on to lots of different things. And Don't be afraid to maybe direct message somebody on Instagram if you really like what they do. And I think even that's how we got contacted. I just dropped you a line, Nicky, and said, I think your podcast is great. If you're ever looking for people to contribute, let me know. That you could have come back saying, Joe, I've got a waiting list at the moment. No, nothing till next. And that's absolutely fine if you haven't got space for me, but I will always ask.
Yes.
Always.
And I think sometimes we can take everything so personally of, I used to do that when I was acting in the early years of going in for castings and going, it's about this one opportunity. And if I don't nail it, then everything is lost. Whereas actually just go in and do a good meeting, because the number of times where sometimes I'd get a role and then it would be written out, or a new director would come in place, or something would happen, that it's not personal in that way. So it's never just a simple equation. These people, I mean, I'm sure you found it in your business journey as well, that these people pop up again and again, and you meet people and then you see them in a different circle, and it's really lovely.
Definitely. And, I often get put forward for speaking jobs. So as a keynote speaker, I will get contacted and I'll do a 20-minute pitch with them on the phone of why I'm the right person to do that talk. And then I might get an email back to say, sorry, Joe, you not quite what we were looking for this particular event, but obviously we'll bear in mind for future. And it's easy to take that as rejection, but I don't. I believe in the power of my own voice and what I have to say. And maybe I wasn't the right speaker for that particular event, but there'll be plenty more.
Yes. And how did you find that, I guess, elevator pitch that you have for yourself? How did you find your own voice and what you're good at and kind of what to talk about? Because again, I think sometimes we can undersell ourselves, especially if it's, I've done some work with digital mums recently, and lots of people are like, yes, but I've only been qualified a month, so who am I to talk about this? Again, it's the imposter syndrome that comes up. How have you found a way to brand yourself so people get what you do?
I think you have to practice your elevator pitch a little bit, and it's okay to practice that at home or in the mirror, and actually even telling yourself out loud what you do and how you believe in yourself, and having that confidence when you say it is got to be a good thing. I do think confidence comes with age a little bit, and I've just hit the big 4-0.
Yes, I can't wait to read. Mine's coming very shortly. I'm excited about it.
Actually. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but it's fine. And yeah, I feel good about it, because I feel good about the place where I am now. For example, I used to sit on the board of the local chamber of commerce. I was the youngest woman on the board in a non-executive role, sitting around this table with someone from the Bank of England, and I felt like I had a big neon sign over my head, thinking, what are you doing here, Joe? Why are you at this table? But now, at this ripe old age of 40, and what I've done and what I've learned, I think I deserve my seat at the table, and I will have this seat, and I will contribute what I can. I can't contribute to every single conversation, perhaps, if it's not my niche, but I know what my strengths are and what I've learned over this business journey, and actually you deserve your place at the table. So I think you just have to try and get rid of that. Those inner anxieties that tell you that you're not good enough, because you are, and actually the world would be a much better place, I think, and a financially more stable place, if a lot of us, especially as women, actually stop doubting ourselves and just put our hand up and take that opportunity, and believing in ourselves a bit more. It's not just a cheesy cliche, it's actually an economical strategy to believe in yourself.
Definitely. I joined a members club last year for my coaching, because I really wanted to up level how I worked. And it was such a sense of like, it felt like a real up level, and it felt like a huge investment financially, but it was one of those, you have to go through a selection process. And it was the first day when I then worked, I happened, and I don't know if it was the universe that was telling me, I overheard so many male conversations that were so masculine and so sort of, one of them was interviewing somebody else, and he was just firing questions at her and not listening to the answer because he was desperate to stick to his script. And I suddenly had that moment of, oh, you need me here, actually. You need my voice and you need diversity within your organisation, because otherwise we're just going to keep producing things like that, which is great, but we need more of all the other things as well.
Oh, I think diversity and inclusion is something I feel really passionately about. And do you know what? As a woman in tech and being an O2 partner, there's only 2 women who are O2 partners in the whole of the UK. Can you believe that? And it used to make me feel quite uncomfortable, actually, because I go to a lot of events and it's all men, apart from me and potentially this other lady who I get on really well with. But she doesn't always come to the event, so I always look out for her because she's like my wing woman.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I hate it when she's not there because, as I say, and over the years, especially when I was a bit younger, maybe when I was in my mid-20s, I feel quite intimidated by them. But now, actually, I've turned it on its head, Nikki, and I make a point of maybe wearing a red dress, and I will be standing out for the right reasons rather than potentially in the past feeling like I just didn't fit in. But actually, I think to myself now that standing out is the new standing in.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And I find that the amount of castings that I still go in for now, and it's just 6 men sitting on a sofa, and I refuse. There was this one hideous audition I had to do a while ago where it was almost, I mean, it wasn't anything untoward, but I had to do a kind of silly dance, and they were like, right, we're just going to play the music, and then if you can just do that. And I thought, oh my goodness. I mean, this was something like 9:10 in the morning. And I thought, I can't show any weakness in this moment. And so I immediately made a joke of, well, if you want people to dance this early, the least you could do is put a bar out, so everybody could have a quick drink before they start, because it's quite intimidating doing this. And they all sort of laughed. And I thought, yeah, it's important actually that you see that you see what it's like on the other side, because I'm sure they wouldn't like it.
Definitely. I heard an amazing keynote from Baroness Martha Lane Fox last week at an event. And she co-founded lastminute.com, and she was talking about we need more women in tech, but we just need more diversity and more inclusion. And it was a really, really powerful message that she's trying to share at the moment. And that's why I think I have a responsibility, perhaps, as a woman in tech, to share that voice. And I had an amazing experience recently where I spoke to about 250 graduates who are all studying STEM, and I did a keynote in the British Museum, and it was a real career highlight for me because it's the first time. Because obviously we feel like we're 21, aren't we, Nikki?
Yeah, well, I did a play there years ago, and it was that thing of going, I can't believe it, I'm here, this is amazing. I was so excited.
Even, we've got to that stage where the dressing of our youth of today has come full circle, the crop tops and the
I will not be wearing a crop top, but yeah, I've seen it and I've acknowledged it, and I'm like, no way. Although if somebody wants to let me wear green Doc Martens again, I'm all game for that. That would be great.
Get those bad boys out. Yeah. No one's wearing pedal pushers though. I've noticed that's not come round yet.
Oh, a pedal pusher and a clog. That was big in North Lincolnshire.
A little trip to Dulce. Anyway, I feel like I'm digressing, but going to the British Museum, I feel like I was 21, but I delivered this keynote, these 250 grads who are all super bright, studying science, mathematics, or what have you.
Amazing.
And it's the first time that I actually felt like I'm a 40-year-old woman and I am passing on what I've learned to these 20-year-old girls who are the future. And it was just a real turning point for me of realising that I've become that person where we've got to pass it on.
Yeah. Oh, what a lovely moment as well, in such a grand environment as well. It was like somebody saying, this is loud and clear, make sure that you've breathed all of this in. What do you do day to day that helps you focus, get kind of, I was going to say get in the ring, but like kind of get your head in the game, not feeling like you're in that overwhelmed side of the spectrum, but that you're actually in control and it's all going to be okay?
I normally just, when I once I'm up and about and the kids are all sorted, I walk around a lot with a notebook, and I think a lot of people do that, but to stop the overwhelm, I will write no more than maybe 3 to 5 things down that I need to achieve that day. Because there's always these lists, isn't it? You go to bed with lists in your head. It drives me nuts. And I think at about 10:30 last night, I remembered I needed to send a contract to somebody first thing this morning. I don't want to be thinking that when I go to bed at night. And I'm sure my husband's not thinking that.
No.
So, yeah, it's better if I grab myself a cup of coffee and I write down, but it's really important that it's maybe no more than 5 things. And write 1 to 5, what are those 5 things that you would like to achieve that day. Most of the time, I might only get through 3 of them. But just dealing with stuff in bite-sized chunks really works for me. So then I don't beat myself up when I haven't got through a list of 25 things, and then I feel like I'm just doing a rubbish job, because that's not good for self-esteem.
No, and I find that actually if I get stuff done, and sometimes, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I have a shower on there just so I can tick it off, because what I find is that when I'm in that flow of actually doing stuff and achieving stuff, I do more of it. What I never want to do is going, well, I haven't done any of it. And that's when the self-doubt or the limiting beliefs kind of spiral a little bit, that actually just doing those easy wins is kind of so key. I've got one final question for you, which is, where would you like to be in 5 years, in business or in life, or a combination of the two?
Oh, that's such a tough question, isn't it?
I know.
I really hope that my business is still thriving, because we're on some really nice contracts lately, and I feel that there's a great space for us with our relationship with O2 and with Apple. So I'm excited about seeing how that's growing, and I love the team that I work with. I'm really lucky. We've got some great staff, so I want that to carry on thriving. But equally, I don't want it to take up all my time, because within the next 5 years, I mean, I'd love to grow the Guilty Mother blog to more like 80 to 100,000 followers. Would be amazing. I'm nearly halfway there. I would love to be doing more talks to businesses and to children. And I know that will grow over the next 5 years. And actually the thought of it just excites me, if I'm honest, because, at age 45, I just hope that I can just continue sharing what I've learned. So I think more of the same, but hopefully just on a slightly bigger scale.
Exciting. And who knows what technology will have been invented by then. And
I know.
I noticed that even in my coaching journey, like Instagram wasn't even a thing when, I qualified, and now it's such a huge part of my business. And the future looks bright and all that good stuff. If people want to come and find out more, where should they go?
I would love for them to come and find me online, and we've talked a lot about networking today, so I'd encourage anybody that wants to ask me any questions or chat to me. I'm really, really open to that. So you can find me online. So you can find me on LinkedIn under Jo Wimble-Groves. If you want to find me on social media, the Facebook page is Guilty Mother, and the Instagram is Guilty Mother altogether. And if you want to find me on Twitter, I have the 2 handles, which is Jo Wimble-Groves, and I also have guilty_mother as well. And the website is guiltymother.co.uk. So do go and check me out if you can.
Wonderful. That sounds brilliant. And also, I need to, I'll do it in another podcast at some point, but I'd love to talk to you about leading a team and what that looks like. Because again, that's a new phenomenon that's coming into place, that actually you can lead without being the bossy older sister, which is what I'm sure I was as a small child. But kind of what that looks like. So that might be part 2. But thank you so much, Jo. I've loved chatting.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already, feel free to rate, review and subscribe for all the brand new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices, availability or just to have a chat with me, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests, and I'll see you next time.